Just as we're gathering, there's coffee and tea over in the corner, hot chocolate. Please help yourselves. Well, good evening, everyone. We're glad that you're here. Welcome to First Congregational Church for this solar energy rooftop event. We're glad that you're here. A couple quick announcements. One, this is being live streamed, so it'll be recorded, and people can access that information later through this church's website. Important things, in the back we have coffee, regular decaf, hot chocolate, tea, water. Feel free to get up at any time and help yourselves. Bathrooms are down to the back on your left, down there. So this event came about from a conversation a bunch of us were having after church one day. We were talking about, what do you have to do to get solar on your roof? How do you start? And so out of that, we contacted a bunch of people at the city, some contractors. Dave and Mike will talk more about it, but we're glad you're here to kind of get some more information about what that might be like in your life. There are three different kind of components. We have Mike Noreen here from the city of River Falls Municipal Utilities. We have some contractors here, and we also have some people that have installed solar on their own homes so that you can kind of get a sense of what that might look like as well. I'm going to turn it over to Dave Ostendorf, who's going to talk more about Hope for Creation, which is the sponsoring body for this presentation. Dave?
Thanks, Chris. Welcome to everyone. We're glad you're here tonight, this lovely spring evening. And there goes my phone, of course, what always happens. Excuse me. We want to lift up Hope for Creation. We are a collaboration, a partnership of 9 churches here in town, along with the University of Wisconsin River Falls and the municipal utility, plus other organizations that work with us too. We've been around for going on about 8 years now, done a tremendous amount of work in the community and continue to do that. And most of you have heard already about Earthfest coming up, Earthfest 2022 on the 24th of April. We have a lot of flyers here to take back to either your churches, businesses, any place you wish. It's going to be a great event. We're expecting a huge crowd. We have music, we have food, we have electric vehicles, we have anything you want to know about sustainability and environmental commitments. So we hope you'll be able to come. The other thing we have tonight, we'd like for all of you to consider taking or signing a sustainability pledge, which Hope for Creation has developed and is circulating in the community to churches and businesses and organizations and individuals. So this is an individual form. It's a mere commitment, an open commitment to live sustainably, and it's on the table right back here. And we'd appreciate your taking one. If you can sign it here tonight, that would be even better. And if not, take it with you and return it to us. So thank you. And now let me introduce Mike Noreen. There's Mike. Mike is our energy conservation coordinator for utility. As Chris said, he's been a driving force here in the community, and we are so glad that he's going to be able to help us put this together tonight. Mike?
Thanks, Dave. Good evening, everybody. At least it's not snow. Right? Jeez. All right, does this work? Is there going to be... Does that work? Yeah. Okay. Again, thanks for inviting me here tonight to work with you guys and to share with you how to put solar on your roof, whatever roof that might be. Maybe it's your home, maybe it's your business, maybe it's your church, maybe it's your nonprofit. We got lots of options here. And I also really want to thank the contractors that are here. That you guys came a long ways to present. It's in the evening, and we all have a life, so I appreciate you guys being here, as well as those people that have solar on their house. I think that's a real value to be able to talk with these people and get their experiences. So after I'm done with my presentation, what we're going to do is I'm going to encourage you to go meet with the contractors. And then they're also going to have some table tents that will have people that have used these companies. So there will be, say, Mark over here has All Energy Solar, so he'll have a table tent. So if you, and although All Energy isn't here, he will be a representative. So if you have questions about the solar that was put on by those guys, you go see him. So we'll have those guys spread out, and by all means, ask questions. And what I've learned about people with solar is they love to talk about it. So that's wonderful. So I'm glad they're here, and ask them questions. So here we are with Rooftop Solar. My pen, not this thing. So we all have our own reasons why we want solar on our roof. Certainly to reduce your utility bill, and I work for the utilities. To reduce your carbon footprint, perhaps. To be energy independent. Sometimes these opportunities arise, and maybe you have a different reason why solar is the right option for you. I do want to clear up a few things for you that sometimes we get this impression what solar can do that it probably can't. And one is, it says reduce your utility bill. It won't eliminate your utility bill. We have, at the utilities, we have all these fees on there, and you guys have all had paid utility bills forever. And you know that the electric portion of your bill isn't everything. So you can get down to nothing on your electric use at River Falls Utilities and still have a bill every month for $32. So just be aware that there is going to be, you're always going to have a utility bill. Unless you're completely off the grid, which is great. If you can do that, if you're out in the sticks and you want to go completely off the grid and you tied in with batteries, with your energy independence, that's not far off in the future. That's present. You can do that right now. It's expensive, and it changes the payback a little bit, but you can get there if you wanted. I just wouldn't suggest it if you're already on the grid. It's tricky. So then, where do you start if you want to put solar on your roof? And really, this is good even if you didn't want solar on your roof. Start with conservation. We go conservation, efficiency, and then renewable energy. Because the cheapest electricity is the electricity you don't use. So just turn off the lights. Have a smart thermostat. Know your consumption patterns. And most utilities will have something like this, which is showing your energy usage pattern in a given 15 minutes. And when you're able to see that every 15 minutes instead of at the end of the month, and you're using some nebulous number of 750 kilowatt hours, that's tough to really make a lot of change. But if you do have the ability to see this, and again, with River Falls Municipal Utilities, we have it. It's called My Account. And you can see the typical energy use here, and then way over here, that's when most of my family left, me here in the Midwest, and my energy consumption went way down for a week. So that helps. The green line is the weather, is the temperature. So know your consumption patterns, and then smart home, the Internet of Things, having a smart home that can do some of these choices for you if you want to go that far. The next one is go energy efficient. So now you're not using the energy. Now the energy that you use it as efficient as possible. So the first one for a home is usually lighting. That's an easy one. If you have incandescent light bulbs, that's amazing because they're hard to find, and I don't know why I'd want them anymore, more than just nostalgia. But The curly Q light bulbs, the CFLs, those work well. They they work okay. And if you have those, you might want to run them through until the end of life, but you might want to switch to LEDs. LEDs, they've come a long ways, and there's no toxins in them, and it's probably better for you, better for your home, and they are more efficient than the curly Q light bulbs. So go to LEDs. And then some of the other things you're looking at, when you're looking at appliances, look at Energy Star rating. That's a proven benchmark that for energy efficiency. I'm not saying it's going to last 15 years like your old one in 1985. That's just not happening these days. But they are more efficient, and that helps. Certainly, water heater and your heating and air conditioning and ventilation, that's a big one. Your air conditioner is going to take up a ton of electricity in the summertime, as well as your dehumidifier. And another one in the wintertime, that space heater is a real killer. So look at where you can become more energy efficient. And then the next one, what we require in River Falls, and I would suggest for anybody, whether your home is new or if it's old, is a home energy assessment. We use a couple of different contractors. They're around. It's not cheap. It's like $400 to do that, to have that assessment done on your home. With RFMU, we offer it for $35 just so people do it. And then with it, you get 15 free light bulbs installed in your home. So it's a good deal. And what it'll do, it'll show you where in your house you're having air leaks or where you're missing insulation and things like that. So that's required for us, but for Pierce Pepin and Synchro Electric and Excel Energy, that's not required. But it is a good idea to do that kind of thing, and you can really find out the right way to go in terms of making your home efficient, because it'll give you a roadmap of what you should do. Here's one. There's this little infrared camera. That's a really useful little tool. We have a couple of those at City Hall. They're free to rent. You can keep them for a couple of weeks. They're fascinating to see. You'll look around your house and see where those air leaks are and the differences in temperature. So they're fun to play around with, and you won't break it. They're really pretty tough things. So let's get on now to renewable energy. Rooftop solar is the first one, but I'm going to bounce down to a couple first. A couple of these other first. Green blocks, that's really just buying renewable energy from the utilities. Most of our utilities comes at about about 25% renewable energy already in our portfolio. But if you want to just buy all renewable energy, you could just buy it from us. And you could probably do it from most utilities. And it'll cost you, for an average home, about $4 a month to be 100% renewable or to be carbon free. And this is just a map of all the people that are buying the renewable energy blocks in River Falls. And so and then here's the residential solar. This map is a little out of date, and right now we have probably about 3 times as many of those rooftop solar installations. Another option is the community solar, and we offer that, and so does Synchro Electric and Excel. And community solar is a big array of solar panels. As you're driving towards Hudson, you look off to the right in the corporate park, and you'll see that big solar panel. That's what the city put up. And then what you do is you would buy a share of that. You'd buy a solar panel or 2. And then whatever that solar panel produces, you get a credit on your utility bill. And you get that credit until 2035. So the upfront cost is about $400. And then you buy it one time, and then from there, you get the credit on your utility bill. So Yep. Uh, yep. Yep. Well, you're in the right spot. I'm glad you're here. Um, Community solar again. This one, the payback is longer than you would if you put it on your house. The payback isn't as great, but if you just want a couple of shares, or if your house is shaded, or if your shingles are old, and it just doesn't work for you, you can still. There's other ways you can do it besides putting it on your roof. And then we'll go up to here on the rooftop solar. Typical installation for a home. I know this is kind of busy. Um, I I want to be clear that my job is to help make this happen, to facilitate rooftop solar, but I'm not the expert in solar. These guys here, who are the installers, are your experts in there. So um, defer to them, ask good questions, and I'll try to help you through that. So the first thing you do is, if you're going to get solar on your roof, is you find a contractor, and a couple of things you're going to look at. Oh my goodness, I've got a takeaway sheet here that I failed to send out. So if you want to see something, or follow along, you can, or take notes. So my apologies, I didn't send that out earlier. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your roof can handle it, can handle that load from the solar panels. And fortunately, in Wisconsin, our homes are built strong enough because we know we have a lot of snow. Now, if you go down to Alabama or if you go down to Florida, that's not always the case. They don't have to build roofs to be as strong. They have their other issues down there of hurricanes and so on. But generally, our roofs are are generally strong enough. But that's what these guys are going to help you through. They're going to help you figure out if indeed, um, yeah, that's it. I just brought 50 of them. So, and then shingle age. So it's important that you um, know how old your shingles are and how long of life that they have on your roof. That solar panel is going to be on your roof for at least 25 years, probably longer, probably around 35 years. So if your shingles have another 10 years of life in them, you're really going to mess up your payback of that solar panel if you have to take that off and put new shingles on. So timing is important when you do a project like this. So the younger the shingles, the better. And if you have a steel roof, that's even more ideal. And your contractor is also going to tell you about shading. They've got some tools that will tell you how much shading that solar panel is gonna have at different times of the day and different times of the year. Now, just because you have a little bit of shading on your solar panel does not mean that it won't work. There's ways around it with different inverters or numbers of inverters or cutting trees down. I'm also the forester too, so I'm not big on cutting the trees down, despite what you see on the other side of town where we're cutting down a ton of trees. So shading is another thing to consider, and these guys will help you through that. The next thing that you want to consider when looking at solar is how much energy do you want to produce? Do you want to get 100% of your energy consumption covered by those solar panels? You might, but that's why I suggest you work on conservation first and efficiency, so you get that number down as low as you can, and then that's the number that you want to get to with your solar. So if you're imagine, you're about to be an empty nester, but you got 2 kids at home, and they're about to fly off. Your energy consumption is going to change dramatically in the next couple of years. So things to consider are how much energy do you really need to make? Because solar panels aren't cheap, and the smaller you can get, the better. And how you would do that is really looking at your utility bill and figuring out how much you're using over the course of a year. Don't look at it over the course of August or in the middle of January. Watts per panel. There's a lot of different ways a lot of different sizes of panel you can get and their own efficiency. And I'm sure these guys they all have their different types of panels. So ask that question of how many watts per panel that has. And just because it has more watts per panel doesn't always necessarily make it better. It might, but there's a cost to all of these things. So it's a question to ask. And then the number of inverters. The inverter is the thing up there that changes that DC power to AC power. The power from the sun to the power to the outlet. So sometimes there's 2 inverters for, 20 panels on a house, and sometimes there's 10 or 15. And again, the number of inverters, it all kind of depends on what you're looking for, but one isn't necessarily better than the other. But it's a question worth asking. And if I may, with the solar guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, the solar panels, they don't really fail. There's no moving parts to solar panels. They'll be up there forever. The thing that does fail is inverters. Am I right? All right, good. So something to keep in mind. And then we're going to talk a little bit about financing. Everyone's always, curious about rebates, as you should. So there are loan options. Our contractors, they might not have a loan option directly through them, but often working with banks and credit unions that specifically provide loans for solar installations. So there are times where you can get a really good loan to do this if you can't come up with it on your own. RFMU, that's River Falls Municipal Utility Rebates, that changes. We match whatever the state is going to give you. And the state program's called Focus on Energy. So right now in River Falls, we get you would get $1,000 back from the state to put on put solar panels on your roof. And as a local utilities, we match that. So you would get $2,000 back directly to you if you were to put solar on your roof. And that changes from year to year. And the state also runs out of money. So get involved early so you can get a reservation and you can get your money. So again, that changes, but right now as it stands, if you're in River Falls Municipal Utility territory, you'd get $2,000 back cash. And then we go to the federal tax credit. Right now it's 26% federal tax credit for putting solar on your roof. That is going to continue to go down year after year, and I'll show you a graph in a second. But they've also been many presidents of right or left have keep this going. No one's cut it. Even they've all threatened to, but no one's cut it out yet. And then another thing to consider is how much your utility is going to buy back from you. A lot of people want to put in 100% of their energy needs. Maybe let's go 110% or 120, whatever it might be. As a utility, we're required to to buy back that power. So, Rose, if you overproduce by 200 kilowatt hours in a month, then we will pay you the exact same cost, the 11 cents per kilowatt hour, back to you for that energy that we received. That's not always the case. Utilities vary from all over the place. So in some places, if you went over 20 kW, and this is the case for River Falls Utilities. So under a 20 kW system, this one is 17, I believe, on this roof, which is pretty big. And you're probably not going to go over 20 kW on your house. But if you had stars in your eyes, you want to go big, don't do it. Because if you go over 20 kW, now whatever you sell back to us, we buy it at 4 cents a kilowatt hour instead of 11. And so basically what we're saying is you're a power plant, and we would treat you as a power plant, and we're going to buy the energy from you the same price that we buy from power plants. So keep that in mind wherever you live. Ask what your utility would provide you back, because it's not the same, and just be aware of that fine print. So here we are with just the typical rebates. So Focus on Energy, as I mentioned, is $1,000. RFMU, we give you another 1,000. Federal tax credit, another 26%. And then it continues to go down to 22%, and then 0 in 24. Now I doubt if it's going to go down to 0, but that's at least what they're threatening or telling. All right. Before I open up the question and answer, we're in a unique environment here where, as a nonprofit, you can't get any federal tax credit because you don't pay those federal taxes. So there's other options where we cover that same percentage, that basically that 30% tax credit. So what we have done with 3 different churches, and if you would, raise your hand if you're from one of these churches that has solar on their roof. Okay, look at, so there is expertise all over the place here. And we'll have some table tents too if you want to talk to these folks. So what we did with these different churches and the Eco Village, and let's not forget the Habitat for Humanity Eco Village, and before I go on the churches, that solar, we're trying to make it so that solar is not just for the affluent. We're trying to make solar available to everybody, and Habitat for Humanity has done a really nice job in developing the Eco Village on Apollo Road that has made affordable housing even more affordable by putting solar on the roof. And I just want to add one little more thing to it. This is a solar hot water collector, and when you do solar hot water, it heats. There's tubes going through there, heats the water, goes into a tank, and then it goes into a second tank, and then you get your solar hot water. The Eco Village did, I think it was 3 or 4 homes with solar hot water, and in that time that they had built those 3 or 4 houses, and by the time they built the other ones, the price of solar electric had dropped so much that it made more sense to go to just all electric heat and just heat your water through the solar panels. So I think it's an interesting, I'm glad they switched, and it shows how quickly that has dropped. And the price of solar has dropped something like 80% in the last 12 years. Will it go lower? I don't know. It's pretty darn low. So don't wait until it gets to 90% or free. So back to the churches. If you have a church or a nonprofit, we can help you through a couple of different grants that we've been successful in getting to covering close to between 30 to 50% of that project cost through grants. And then the generosity of the parishioners covered would buy shares and cover the rest. And I've been so impressed by the 3 different churches in town that have made this happen. And it's wonderful. It's a shining star in Wisconsin for churches going to solar. So kudos to you. So with that, that's my presentation. And before we go to breakout groups, is there any questions or things that I missed for this? Yes. When it snows, yeah, yep, that's a problem. In the wintertime, your solar production is going to drop. It's going to drop considerably. You know, so I suggest look at your solar production over the course of a year, and recognize that there are times in the winter where you will have snow on them. Now, we don't suggest that you go and brush them off necessarily, because you can you get kind of rough on those panels, and it's best to usually just let it melt off. Your the contractors might say something differently. I don't think so, but I don't know. It will open up in a second. But it usually the experience that I've had with community solar panels is it doesn't last more than a couple days. And there are times, and I say the solar gain might not be that great in the wintertime, but there are times when the solar gain is tremendous in the wintertime. On these bright, sunny days where you've got snow, you've got sun hitting your solar panels from multiple angles, coming up from the sun, coming from the snow, and these solar panels work really well in the cold. So while there will be less production in the wintertime, there can be some really good days too. Any more questions? I hope. Russell, do you have anything on that, the removing of the snow? Yeah. All right. Right. Tim? Nice. Awesome. So the ground mount, that brings up a good point. If your roof is not capable or your shingles aren't the right age, you can certainly put a ground mounted system on your property. In River Falls, we don't have any rules against that. So it's another option, especially if you live on the country where Tim does. One thing that I do want to bring up is you sometimes see like those solar, those flowers on 1300 South Main. You see they track the sun. They're awfully cool looking, that's for sure. So you might be tempted to have a tracking system, and personally, I wouldn't advise it. And because in a solar system on your roof, there's very few moving parts. And the less moving parts, the less things to fail. And with a thing or a solar array that's going to track the sun, that motor is inevitably going to have some wear and tear and will probably fail at some point. And if you've noticed those sunflowers, I've already seen a couple that seem to be stuck in one direction or the other, and they're a year old. So I would advise against a tracking one, but I've been wrong before. Yes. Good question. Good question. A typical home installation, and for I would just say generally, for a couple the typical energy use for a home in River Falls is 750 kilowatt hours a month, which works out to roughly about 10,000 kilowatt hours a year, which a 8 kilowatt solar array generally would cover most of your needs. There's a lot of variability in there, um, but again, if you're trying to reach close to your energy consumption, maybe you're not at 100%. Generally, an 8 kW system would work, but we're all different, and some people would need something a little bit bigger. But an 8 kW system, I think, would run, and take this with a grain of salt, I'd say around 16,000. At 17, I meant 17,000. um, I was adding in our rebates. Yeah, so and the payback, I guess the payback is somewhere right now between 8 and 12 years. Does that sound fair? So that's kind of what we're looking at. And again, I don't want to, I'm just painting with a broad brush, but that's kind of what we're looking at for your return on investment. All right. So I'm certain, yes. Um, you've, I would, yeah, it's probably a realtor question, but you've got a functioning. Yeah, right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Peter? I think I will. Who's talked? Who's another installer out here? We got, Great. And let's hear from Carlson Electric. Yeah. Great. Thanks, Dean. Luke. All right, Russell. Or is it, you guys do the math too? Or installers, eight. What's the square footage needed for an 8 kW system for a typical home? 360 square feet. There's another question out there that I missed. Okay. Yep. Okay. So the question: are solar shingles here yet? And um, yes, they are. But they're kind of in their infancy, and I imagine they'll just get better as people would want them. And I mean, who wouldn't? They do look cool. Yes. What happens if your shingles run out before your panels run out? Um, then you got to take that off, that solar panel off, and then put the new shingles on and put the solar panel back up. And that's what that's what we want to avoid because that costs money. And I think um, we 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 invited reputable solar installers here, so none of these guys would do that. But that's not to say that it couldn't happen. So um, be a be aware of the conditions of your panels or your shingles before you install. All right, Dean, question. And thank you. I didn't know that. That's good. That's good to learn. Yes. The average weight of these panels. I'll go with Wolf River. Okay. Okay. Great. So it sounds like a typical weight of a panel is about 45 pounds, give or take a few. Hold on, Dan. Yes. A cost comparison between ground mount and roof mount. Yeah, and that's why we've got these guys here. I don't have that info, but we got three contractors that can help you out if that's all right. So I'll defer to that one. I believe putting panels on a metal roof are even better. The roof's going to last longer. There's easier ways to adhere that without putting a hole in the roof. So yeah, if you have a metal roof, that's good. That's very good. Dan? And you guys used Everlight Solar, is that right? You guys use all energy, okay. Did we have any Everlight Solar users in here? Okay, great. So, if you have a question about another, Everlight Solar is not present tonight, but they did show up in town last year and did a number of projects. So if you have questions, come and see these ladies. Yes. Another fine question. Russell? Or- yes. Could you say it one more time? Well, implications of property taxes. You've got a more valuable house, so I would say there would be some implications. No? Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you, guys. Oh, you were setting me up? What? Dang. We do, yes. That I won't get into that, but yes, there's a loan program. Um, okay. Any other setup questions for me? Um, okay. So, with that, we've got if you have what if you are one of these folks from St. B's, I would appreciate it if you'd grab one of those, and you can go back and sit where you're sitting. Same thing with United Church of Christ. Ezekiel is here. Habitat for Humanity is over there. Energy Concepts, if you've had solar installed by Energy Concepts, or you might think of Steiner Electric. We've had Wolf River, and we've specifically invited some people here that have participated with these different with these different installers. Carlson Electric, and I'm not sure who I'm missing. We have some Everlight here, and so with that, I'm going to release you to go ask some questions. I'm certainly still available. And with that, I sincerely appreciate you coming out tonight. And let's get after it. Thanks, guys.